I'm gonna call this
Officially
meeting to order.
22.
Yeah, I've checked mine.
Just so everybody knows, the meeting's being filmed and tape recorded, so I can take minutes. And also, if you haven't already done so, if you're on this committee, you have to take an oath. So you just go to the clerk's office and she'll give you the oath. Okay? Everybody okay with that? All right, roll call. Councilor Marquetti is here, and I was appointed the chair. I actually don't have a problem if the committee wants to pick someone else's chair, but other than that, I will serve as chair if everybody's okay with it.
I'll go with that.
Councilor Steves?
Here.
Daniel Zwick?
How do you pronounce your last name?
Bosick.
Bosick?
Okay.
Bosick, Washik.
All right.
How do you pronounce it?
Daniel Grabowski, representing the Board of Health.
Yeah, yes.
Citizen members Kevin Buxton,
Here.
Steve Gregoire.
Yep.
Mark Latali.
Here.
Catherine Grenier.
She's on here.
Good, thank you. So I put together what I considered our charge to be. I mentioned that on January 10th, the Southbridge Town Council voted to approve the townwide contract curbside service option, which means the town would contract out townwide curbside garbage collection. That was recommended by the Curbside Advisory Committee. The charge of this committee, in my opinion, is to explore pay-as-you-throw programs to reduce waste and distribute the cost of disposal among residents in a more equitable fashion. Is everybody okay with that as a charge?
The only thing I just wonder if you want to make it that specific. I mean, it's a charge, so it is of just. I think we want to leave this committee with the implementation plan of how the curbside program will be funded. I mean, it's not necessarily pay as you throw as an option, and we were going to discuss that. But I think you don't want to just be like, this committee ends, you guys decide no pay as you throw, and then we have to form another committee to figure out how to implement. So I think the general thing is we want to leave this committee, and that's the technical assistance grant, is an implementation plan for a curbside program, and how it's going to be funded is in that implementation plan. So it could be a variety of things, and some kinds we kind of say there's an option. It's not officially pay as you throw. It's the flat fee kind of programs. You know, it's. So we'll talk. I just don't want us to be so strict in that verbiage, and then have to start again because you decide something
So
comes up. Somehow you get some money from someplace, and you're like, "Woo, we can pay the whole thing. Here we go."
So it's not necessarily pay as you throw, it's just implement some plan
For the
curbside program and how we're going to pay for it.
right.
Well, I think as a part of it is also for the any other options we have for stuff that I think we would also want to take a look at some of the elements of being able to take stuff out of the curbside system if we can.
And that goes, the implementation plan also, I think, it directs that. It's just how's the program going to work?
Right.
What is going to go on for bulky items? What's going to go on for hazardous materials? How's that connected with the contract, and could be outside of the contract? Because some items you're going to have in the curbside contract, and then some items will not be. It will be separate. You and Charlton could be doing something separate for hazardous materials that is not in that contract.
Right.
Okay.
And would you see that as an option for, because I would love to see if we can figure out ways to find some of the stuff that we may be collecting, find it reuses within the community. It's like local industries and things like that.
Right. I think the biggest thing is this charge wants to work on March 2024 is definitely the big detail.
Right.
So I think that has to be the charge of the committee. But I think everything will be laid out in the implementation plan of material management. I like every town should really have a material management plan. And so kind of pushing you towards that. That it's not just how it's going to be funded. It can give you options into that, because then this committee disbands again, and then you have to start again, of different.
Okay, Ms. Doyle?
Oh, I think this would fit right in there. I really want to take it or leave it shed. Wood recycling had that, and I think that would help reduce a lot of stuff. People can leave good stuff stuff. Like my example is, and I regret it to this day, there was a beautiful backpack and I did not take it. But it was at the take it or leave it shed. I could have taken it, but I didn't.
All right,
So
we will get into
something
all
like
of that. Right now, we're just talking about the charge. Mr. Pulowski, did you wanna?
Real quick, adding to what she said, I've heard criticisms that it doesn't take a large percentage of the waste stream. But I used to live in Truro, Massachusetts. They had they didn't call it what she's calling it, but it made a national television, it made 60 Minutes.
Okay,
And it's valuable because it changes the way the people in the community think about waste. It's not a dirty thing, it's not that, and they became, I think their recycling rate tripled within a year from the opening it up.
all right.
So it's a nice,
yeah.
and people are more willing to bring hazardous waste to the facility
Okay,
rather than just dump it when no one's looking, and that
Right.
causes problems as well.
thank you. Right now, we're just talking about how we want our charge to be, and I think I will take that and rework it. Agenda item number 4, introduction of Irene Condon.
Yeah.
Mass DEP Municipal Assistant Coordinator will be providing technical assistance and explaining grant funding to implement. Again, it doesn't necessarily have to be a pay-as-you-throw program, but some type of program.
Okay.
So,
So
Ms. Condon, you have the floor.
I'm Irene Condon, and I'm the Regional Recycling Coordinator. My technical name is Municipal Assistance Coordinator, or MAC. There's 7 of us in the state, and I'm in the Central Region, so I go from the Quab into 495, 75 communities, and I've been here a long time. I'm here at your disposal. You guys did apply for the grant for the technical assistance. Normally, I work with communities one-on-one of just saying, okay, I can come to 2 meetings. I come to the Board of Health meeting, help with projects, grant money. The town actually just got a grant. I want to say it was $8,000, $8,000, and I think $8,800 you just received on America Recycles Day, which was just on Tuesday, November 15th. So the town administrator just needs to sign it, and you guys get the money. So that's perfect timing that we could, as the committee, think about ways to use the money. I'm here to help in any way with this kind of thing. What I wanted to explain, you guys have worked very hard, what I consider to be the first pie. So I think to try to explain this in 2 pizza pie kind of things is how is the town going to deal with their trash? You decide you have carts on the ground, you're going to keep the carts, you're going to have, the town is going to be in a contract with the hauler. The hauler will provide the pickup of trash, pickup of recycling, the collection of it, the disposal, take it to a disposal site, charge you the disposal of trash, and charge you a processing fee for the recyclables. The town really is just an exchange. They have a contract, an exchange of money. So now that was the one pie. That's great because that normally takes communities a while. Beautiful thing is you already have the carts on the ground. A lot of people have to figure out how to pay for $1 million worth of carts. You don't. The second pie now is the big challenging part, is how the town is going to interact with the resident. How are you going to pay for this? A lot of other communities have had a line item and they had it in their tax base. Or they have had a flat fee and then just said, okay, residents, pay $300. We've kind of talked about it that a lot of your residents might not be able to fund $300 a year out of a bill that they haven't never seen before, especially now when times are tough. And we expect bills to go up even more. My own bills have tripled. And you're just like, I tell people, I'll get to you when I can. I'm sorry.
Right.
I have a job. I have money coming in. And I feel bad for the people that don't have money coming in and how they can pay another bill that they weren't expecting. So the options are, is a tax, portions in taxes, a portion of flat fee, and a pay-as-you-throw type of program. Pay-as-you-throw can be 2 different types of operations. You can have a smaller cart, but you already have a cart out there. So that's really not something to think about now. But to get money for revenue sourcing is paid per bag. And so that is, that when you go, right now people are buying bags. They go and they get a hefty bag. They go to the supermarket. They get their kitchen bags. They get their big black bags, whichever ones they get. So they are going to a place, to the supermarket, to the hardware store, to the convenience store. They are currently buying bags. It's just to say you pick a fun color, yellow bags, green bags, blue bags. You're gonna buy now those color bags, and you can make it depending on some towns. I'm talking with the town of Princeton. I don't recommend this, but they're gonna put the whole cost on the bag. So it's gonna be in Ashby $5 a bag. I do not. That would not make sense here. This could be a very small thing. I normally don't say $1 a bag, but if you, for community residents in hardship, that might make a lot of sense. Is $1 a bag. You just bought a Coke, you just bought a cup of coffee, and you just spent $1.50 on it. You could pay $1 to dispose of your week's worth of trash. So we have to just come up with how that could work. Number one, we applied for the grant. You got the grant, and one of the things that we put up is a proposed calendar, a proposed thing. So one was the setup of the committee, the establishment here of the committee, that the Board of Health and the town administrator are working on drafting the RFP, and for now, November is putting together a survey to be released with the census to educate the public. So I think that's like the biggest thing I would recommend for right now is a big priority. I don't know the pulse. You know, you guys have been working on this for years. How is does the resident know if there was a landfill? Do they know that the landfill closed? I'm sure they do, but people are funny. People are very funny. That they're in their box, they have their headphones on, they only play video games, they do not listen to the paper, they do not look at any signs, they do not need newspaper, they do not on the town social media. I don't know how many people know that there is no budget line item and to be ready for a new bill.
So hold on. Do you want some questions here?
Yeah, because I think that's the biggest thing, and the reason why I say
I'm
census.
gonna go with Daniel first.
Yeah.
Well, believe it or not, my neighbors and several people in the community, there's a lot of things going on in this town
Oh, yeah.
that they have.
No
Reason
idea.
being because at one time, our source of information was the Southbridge News.
Yeah.
That's when it was delivered every day, that's when people got all the information. Now, since that's gone, my neighbors to the right, they're 88 and 80, they don't go on a computer, so they're totally, everything is by word of mouth. So
Yeah.
my thing is to get some kind of knowledge out before we even begin all this stuff, just to let the people know that we are gonna switch, because my my elderly neighbor said, what are we gonna do? She's already in a panic.
Yeah.
And this is a year out. So, like you said, it's probably better to get some kind of information out now that we are working on this, because you know, because, you know, those people are thinking about, well, what are we gonna do? No one's talking about it. And not everybody watches channel 192. I watch it, maybe you watch it, but this is what, you know, a few people do.
Right.
But this could be going out in everybody's mail, or maybe whatever, the mail would be the best way. But to get a jump on it, that would be the best idea. To
The
say, hey,
census is the best. It's unbelievable. To give you an example, we've done the census in 3 different towns. People can do surveys. They're so happy if they get 5%. We get 95% participation. It's unbelievable. You're like, oh my gosh, that is more people that are registered to vote, more people than come to the town meetings,
Oh, sure.
more people, because they are filling out the census anyway, required thing that they do all the time, and you just give them 3 other questions, then they will do click, click, click.
Kevin, you're
Um,
next.
Well, I want to get back to the fact that, like you said, one of the strong points with the town is we have the toters already.
That's-
And there are actually 2 sizes of toters out there. There was some smaller ones. But because we have the toters, 6,300 households
Mhm.
are already, I assume, attached to those toters. When it comes to apartment buildings, all the toters are actually the responsibility of the landlord. So, if we basically look at this from the top down and say, if we need $2 million to operate a year of our curbside pickup.
Right.
If we divide that $2 million by the number of residents who already have their toters, we come with each resident unit is paying the same amount. Nothing changes, they're still using their same barrels, they're not buying special bags, but it has to be attached to the quarterly, tax, either tax bill or water and sewer bill.
Right,
Okay.
so,
And it's equally divided between all the participating residents who are already registered with their own barrels.
All right, thank you. Gus, did you want to say something?
At the moment, not yet, but.
Okay, then I will go, Mr. Vitale.
To Kevin's insight and this guy's neighbors, that's the concern,
Absolutely.
is they're elderly neighbors in a single-family home that are absolutely gonna get hammered by this. I brought an example. I just found a random example. I used my house and a six-family on West Street. Six-family on West Street, assessed at $291. My 1,000-square-foot ranch on Denison Hill at $311. How many trash bags does a six-family use? How many trash bags do I put out? That's where the elderly is gonna take it right on the chin. Any of the remaining single-family homes, we're gonna absorb it again. Like there's gotta, our goal needs to be to find a way to evenly distribute this so that your 80-year-old neighbor who's lived in that house forever, this doesn't put them, outside of their home.
I totally agree.
And that's why we're speaking about an implementation program rather than coming right out of taxes.
Yeah, because we can't split this between everybody evenly, because that's exactly what happens is, again, the multifamily landlord that lives in Boston, New York, wherever, is off the hook.
But,
Right.
but
Hold
the,
on,
I'm sorry.
hold on. Are you all set?
Yeah.
Did you want to say something, Mr. Bregler?
Yeah, just to everybody's point, I suppose, I'm looking at the original presentation here.
Yep.
And there's just some facts in here about Southbridge, I believe, is 4,300 tons annually of trash was the last number we had. How would that break down? I don't weigh my bags, so this is a dumb question to sound dumb. What is the average, how many bags of trash would 4,300 tons produce? Because that would be a number we'd know going forward to try to figure out if we were gonna go
right.
per bag price, how many bags can we expect?
So, and I know that I'm gonna be with you
Sure. And I would probably
for the
get way
year.
ahead.
Okay.
Okay, I'm gonna be with you for a year, and we're gonna get into the numbers real deep. And I want to get into all that fun stuff, but I know that's fun, and I know you guys want to do
Only
it.
because I feel the same way, my,
One more
my,
comment on
A typical
bags.
weight, just to
Yeah.
give you, is about 25 pounds to 30 pounds. So if somebody's really stuffing, a pay-as-you-throw bag is about
Yeah.
25 pounds
Okay.
per bag. If you're using a 33-gallon, it's about 25 pounds. And I have models, and I'm gonna have spreadsheets, and we're gonna
Sure.
play with the numbers and say, what if we do this? And so 30, 50, 50, do 30, 30, 30. We'll play with the numbers and do stuff like that. But I think the important thing is today is already November.
Yeah.
If we want to get onto the census, you need to say yes, find out who's can get on the census and what verbiage you want on there, and we want to make it as crystal clear so it doesn't cause,
Would it,
oh my gosh, we're going pay as you throw. Oh my gosh,
I mean,
we're losing our pay
would
as you
it,
throw.
would it make sense if I went to grab the town clerk now and asked her, brought her
That's
over?
up to.
Sure, that's fine. Okay, now, everybody's had a chance to speak, so I'm gonna come back to you.
I'm all set, Mike.
All right.
It was taken care of. Thank you.
The thing about bags is we have no way of knowing the exact number of bags that are gonna be bought. And we have no way of knowing the exact number of bags that maybe should be bought, and that trash ends up someplace else.
So I
It's-
can help you with that. So we have 155 communities in Massachusetts that do use bags, and it comes out. The company that we use, most of them use, is around the entire country, and it's by far it's unbelievable. 1.5 bags per household is the average. So when you're buying bags and when you're considering your budget, you kind of budget on 1.5 bags per household.
and that amount of purchase is going to cover the cost of,
On that, no, I am thinking it's gonna be a 2 or 3 prong thing. So you always have, any program really should be fixed costs, the guy going down the road.
yeah.
That cost of collection should be covered by a fixed cost, either portion taxes or a portion of flat fee or a mix of that. And then
So
the
that's still-
disposal cost should be covered by the bag.
So that initial cost is still covered by all taxpayers. And then the pay-as-you-throw is just paying for the disposal.
Correct.
I still see a situation where if we already have the 6,000 toters out there.
Yeah, they're gonna pay. We're
And
gonna
we just stay with the idea that toter, as long as you stay within the volume of that toter, you're within the agreement.
So we'll do
and-
those
and
models.
We
We'll
need
do
to
that.
understand that a single-family home is going to have 1 fee. A 6-family home is going to have 6 fees. Well, actually, I think it's only five family homes can do the curbside pickup
Right,
as it
exactly.
is right now. But
And
a
do we want-
5-family
we
is
need
gonna
to
have
decide whether we
five
keep that.
fees to balance it out. So each unit is going to have to cover its own
Well,
trash.
we're going to talk about
Oh,
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get into
I
that.
just have a question.
Go ahead.
If you don't mind. Irene, could you clarify, like, a flat fee versus unit base, the differences?
So a flat fee is that you cannot be on the tax bill. A flat fee cannot be on the tax bill. It has to be a separate piece of paper, separate mailer. So it can be on the
Like
water and sewer,
Sewer.
but he's already talked about that, and we're having little issues of that.
Cannot
The
be
town
on-
administrator is already asking them, can we do that?
Okay.
And it's
Okay.
it can't. It's just we're in discussions, so that's going to be part of this committee of, hey, because that makes it really easy. If you're already paying this, can we get this in and we can help pay? It can work on it.
Even if it's a
So,
separate enterprise fund?
If yeah, so if you are doing a flat fee, it doesn't matter if you are 1 family, 1 person, 2 people, 10 people. You are paying that fee. That's a flat fee program. Unit based is you put, like, your electric bill. You use this much wattage, you pay for that much wattage. If you put
Yeah.
the 20 bags out, you pay for 20 bags. But you have a cart, a 64-gallon cart, so people have been living within that. I mean, I think there's a few of them that the lid is a little, it's called snow coning, and
And it may be ticketed in the future.
so the one thing is that's easy if you have money aside. So the question is, what we have to do is figure out where the money is, how much in the tax base can absorb. And so I've asked that, and I've asked if there's other accounts, and I've been told there is no little hideaway, a little account. Oxford has a little account. Southbridge does not have a little account.
Are you all set?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, so did you get an answer on the
Okay,
mail?
well, first of all, we have to talk to Maddie next week because she's not there right now. However, Julie did say that she thinks it might be better to do it on the attach the questions to the tax bills rather than through the census.
I think you
But
get
we-
people
we
more
need to-
excited
Oh, I'm sure.
when it's on the tax base. I
Oh,
mean,
on
tax
taxes.
What do you
bill.
mean excited?
And just think there's 2 different aspects of it. One is it just goes to the landlord, I think, for the tax base. So
That's true.
so a lot of
That's
the
true.
renters will not get that. It also, when you talk about tax increases, people just get antsy and then
Oh,
will start going,
absolutely.
did you see this? Did you see this? Did you see this? Versus the census is, to me, is a very benign thing. Who
Right.
are you? What are you doing? We're asking for a few more questions.
Exactly.
And so, and it just makes every ones, some of them we've done very extensive. Like, I wish we didn't answer 10 questions. It really
Yeah.
should be down to like 3.
Okay.
I think, though, I was kind of thinking of, like, what am I on? 4, So I'd like us to just brainstorm some ideas for questions, if that's okay, of
That's
just to
fine.
get things going. I think the biggest thing, like you brought it up, where do people get their information? So you kind of give a list. Do you like direct mailings? Do you read them? Because sometimes people, like, I'm in an apartment, I don't I don't get that many mailings. I always sometimes worry that some of the, because of the boxes, that they don't always get all the papers that everybody else gets, that they only get their bill. They won't get the stuff, that added.
Well, I think on the flip side, having been a postal carrier for a couple of years, I know that the vast majority of stuff that gets carried on is quite frankly junk. Most people, and the problem is it's getting to the point where some of the junk actually looks like real mail, so everything gets cost. And on the flip side, some of the good stuff gets hidden by the junk, so you don't know you're getting it.
Right. So that's one of the questions is where do you get your town information? Do you go direct mail or website, newspaper, electronic signs, and what kind of social media? Are you using Facebook? Are you using Twitter? Are they using Snapchat? I don't know what people are on that could use it, or just they're going to the diner is where they get their information, and is there a thing that just says this diner, this pizza place is really where I get my information, and we should have a board up, a display board.
I think mailing would probably be the best way to go.
I know, but you want them to see different forms. So that's just one question. If we want to get it out, we don't have to. The other is asking specifically the people, are they a renter or are they the landlord? Because it kind of goes to the different questions. If you kind of know who that person is. And this goes to how do you want to do the bill? So I was kind of thinking we have to have like a paragraph in the beginning, and that goes to explain the survey. I was kind of saying our municipal trash program will be going through a change in a year and a half. I am sure you are aware that our landfill closed in January. I think it's 2019. Was that 18 or 19? I forget if it was before COVID, after COVID. That's how my brain works.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it 18 or 19? I'm not sure. Was it 18?
Something like that, yeah. But it's going to, the trash is the most important. It's going to end in 2024.
Right,
Yeah.
right. And that our vendor is still providing service, and I kind of say free service for our community due to, and I don't know if we want to put that under a court case award, I just don't know.
I wouldn't say free.
But it is free. You don't have,
It is
you do
free.
not have a tax bill. You do not have a flat fee. The residents are not paying for
Don't
it.
put that thing recording it either.
I'll give you a thing. I just want us to think about it. This is your thing. I just want you to. The resident needs to know.
All right, hold on.
The resident needs to know what's going on.
Absolutely.
They need to know that 2024 is coming,
Right.
and they need to know that currently there is not a little account that is going to pay for it. Because know that Wheelabrator is in Millbury. Millbury has free program. They get the waste to energy money comes in. They get free trash taken out for the whole town. But the residents pay a bill, and they have an account that sits there that money comes in to pay for that. The town of Oxford has the transfer station. Money comes into that account and sits there. Southbridge doesn't have an account. You guys use the money. It's not there.
Not anymore.
So I think people need to know that, because other cities, like when I had in Gardner, when that landfill closed, they had $1 million in an account that could start a program.
When it
Well,
closed,
we do have
did.
some funds.
We have some. I don't think
I
we
was
have
told by
lots.
the town administrator there is no
Yes,
money.
we have
There's
money. They
not
just
much
don't
of
want
it.
to use it on this,
Yeah.
that's all.
But anyway, that's a great,
Go ahead, man.
that's a great introduction, just what you just said right there, because that's got everybody's attention. Because something is running out and something that we need, and that's the thing about my neighbors.
Right.
They gave up on us, what are we doing, no one's talking about it. But
Yep.
that right there is a great introduction.
And then
So
comes
know
to the
that
big
change is
question.
coming.
Right.
That change is coming, so now definitely got their attention. So if there's anything comes in the mail with trash on, they're not gonna be chucking it, because that's a vital service in our town. And, but to begin with, that's great. And then from there, we can just, extend it more and more.
All right, so the question is, what kind of things do you want to ask in there? Like, what's your goal of it? To me, my goal is, number one is that they are aware of the change.
Right.
They're aware that there's a committee meeting, and that we're trying to come up with a solution that is not one bill. that we are trying to come up with a sustainable. So this was the next kind of, not question, but statement is, you know, how will we pay close to $2 million? You know, how will we pay this bill? And that we know that paying a new bill that we have not been paid for before is a hardship, especially at this time. We are looking at the fairest and most efficient fee structure. Maybe a portion, and I think being outright, these are the three options. A portion would be paid by taxes, a portion could be paid by the landlords based on carts, a portion could be paid by the user depending on how many bags they dispose out of trash. The community has carts, and we will continue to utilize them. Oh, so this was another question I was kind of thinking. How is your current bin? I think, I don't know if anybody, I asked Anna if anybody has done a survey out there.
I did.
You
I
did?
did. And I Emily, the inspector of our department, and I went out there, we did a count. So we have 3 tractor trailer that are used for housing these containers. And I think in all, with the different size totes, there was approximately 100 of each available.
So 164 gallon and
Yeah.
196.
Give or take. That's what I remember.
Okay. But how? But the condition of the bins that are utilized.
The
That's
conditions that are out in
The community.
the community, what I've seen, again, from the 5 week span here, that I've seen a replacement level that I've actually initiated every week. People pay for ones to be replaced, $50 to $60. On average, I've been replacing 5 to 6 a week.
Really?
There is
Okay,
a-
and the ones that I've seen are in condition, we're good.
Yeah, all right.
Some missing flaps that we also have parts to replace, but overall, I think they've been in good condition.
great.
Might
So then we don't have to
Yeah.
answer that question. I was kind of thinking
But
if you had a
in
poor thing.
relation to your messaging, might I add, if the message is just transparent and clear and concise, I agree with you wholeheartedly. If you want to use the terminology free or whatever to get that point across, I think it would be advantageous. That's my personal belief.
I agree. Yeah.
Okay, so the big question I really had, so I really only have 3 questions, and maybe we just added more in there. How do you get your information? Are you a renter and are you a landlord? There is, and then it's just the information. Hey, this is coming. Yes, we're looking. There's a committee together. We could plan a date and have a first info meeting. I mean, to be as transparent as possible in this thing is, you are welcome to come to a first out of many meetings that will happen on this date, and we pick something mid-January, and just say January 20th or something, we'll have something at the school or here or something, and just say, this is just an introduction, just so you know who the players are.
All right.
Right. Do you have somebody on staff that can translate to Spanish?
I am my own self. No.
Okay. So then we're gonna have to tap someone who can do that then.
Oh, yeah, that's fine.
And so you have grant money. You just got the $8,800.
Yeah.
Just needs to be signed and the money will come.
I'm
You
just
can
wondering-
use
I
the
was
money
wondering to see if she did-
for
she
the
worked with
translator.
anybody that could bring with her, but we can find somebody.
Okay.
You can use that for the education piece that's going out.
Can
So
we
Right,
use-
this outreach education piece, we're
Yep.
good.
Yep.
Okay.
Well, that would cover a mail.
Yep.
doesn't it?
Sure. Yeah.
now, if you want to add, like, I think these are questions, and I'm adding things in here. If do you want to pick a date? Do you want to look at a calendar and just say, hey, at least by that time we'll have a little more numbers?
Yeah, we wanna have some substance.
Yeah, but
with it.
you don't want to give them too much, but at least that here we are and here we're kind of thinking, because then you put something out there and you say, can you pay $20 a cart?
Right.
And they go, I have 6 units, you're going to make me pay this much? I can't do that. Can you make it 5? And then you're like, then everything goes up, it moves the markers around.
Well,
So I
do
guess
we want
I'm not following you here. Why do you want a calendar? For what?
To pick a date that could be on here, if you want it to be as transparent as possible, so
Okay,
that
for
the
what?
public know your first get
Public
public informational meeting. It's not a hearing. We don't have the guts.
Right.
It's just a feedback. I think. What do you kind of call that? As a
I think we should try to get the town's IT department to set up a page
Yeah.
for this.
Specifically
Absolutely,
for
that's
television.
good.
And it should be filmed.
And I think it.
Or
and I
just
think
someplace, some
Yeah. So
repository
all
where
the
everything can
information
go.
is there. So it's like
it- Right. And it shouldn't be buried in like the health department page, it needs to be standalone, it's not, right directly from the town's page, right directly from the town.
Easy to find.
Southbridge recycles, or not. This is Southbridge.
Because the Think Reduce site won't work, that's got too much other stuff on it. It's gotta be something
I totally,
on the main page.
Curbside
For
2024.
a good,
something like that, exactly.
if you think of some of the town's elderly, you know, the internet's not exactly the easiest thing for them to utilize sometimes. You want it to be just easy button.
Okay,
Yeah.
so right now though, this is a
Sure.
little bit, not really set.
On-
In my mind, we're not really set on what we're doing here. We're putting out an informational piece here. What's going on it? We're kind of all over the place here. What's going to be on it, and when it's going to go out. So. we're gonna
Is
have
there a
to-
way for us to meet, after you talk to the town clerk, to see about timing of, because it's normally in December that they pretty much have their census kind of done. But if we can meet before that with, here is the official draft.
Mhm.
I mean, I don't know how the committee works. If I can give you this draft,
You can,
and then you
give
can
me a
email
draft.
it around, and
We
I
can
don't know,
talk
you
about
could give it
Does that sound
to.
good?
Yeah, that's fine.
I would like to see how responsive our census was to begin with.
Oh, the general census, you mean the town census?
Yeah, I mean, if, we're saying it works, but I'd like to see it, because,
What's that?
if it doesn't look like we all know, then we need to figure out a different path
This is true.
to do this. I also don't think that we should have in any way or form free on anything, because somewhere down the line, we have to be honest, and people have to know that it is gonna cost everybody
Well,
something.
we will say
Depending
that.
on what it costs,
We need to say that.
that's it, but I wouldn't put anything free anywhere on
Right.
anything.
Free's a big word, once they see that, they're gonna think,
Well,
oh,
I-
the whole program's free.
So
It's free for me.
I mean, that's,
I meant the current program.
Referencing the
The
current.
current
I know, but
program. The current program,
if
people
I
are not
was
paying
putting
for it.
something out,
And free.
if I was
basically
putting
is-
something out there, I would not even use the
The
word.
current, when the current
Misinterpreted,
contract,
You're
The
asking
current contract
for,
does not cost the town or the residents any money.
We voted on it.
right, so they're gonna say, well, the current one doesn't, well, so why can't we have the second one the same way?
exactly.
Okay, that's enough. So,
Look at all the
do you want
costs
to,
associated.
right now, let's talk about scheduling another meeting. We'll come up with a draft, we'll look at the thing and then get it mailed out. Is that how you wanna handle this for now? So, as far as I can tell, our first plan of action here is to do a mailer. Before we get into the rest of the details,
Yeah.
how this is gonna work, we're gonna have to do a mailer, ask the residents how they wanna proceed,
Yeah.
okay? Does that
And if
sound
we
good?
can also have a site, like I said, curbside, Southbridge Curbside 2024
Okay,
Right.
might just be, we're gonna have this site available.
all right.
That could be just an introduction.
So I don't wanna overload it tonight because this is the first thing I want,
Yeah.
a mailer. I think a mailer would be the best thing,
I think it is too, but I think all we do, simple,
yeah.
we
so
tell them the situation we're
it's
in
ending.
as a town.
Right,
We tell them the situation we're in as a town and what couple options that we're faced with and where we're gonna attempt to get money, funds, cause that's the most important part,
all
is
right,
where we're gonna get it. And let them, give them 3 blanket statements and let people, word of mouth's gonna happen.
all right.
Do you want to add a notes? Notes go crazy. People love to write and love to talk trash, but I tell you, the notes that I had, I've had town administrators and board of selectmen, we literally have 3,000 things come in, and the people write, and you know what they say? This was the best part of my entire life as being a board of selectmen.
So you want something that they can mail back? That's
Oh,
what you want.
it's not mail back. It's the paper. So it's yes.
Yeah.
This
Yeah,
is.
it's like the census, you said
It's the
that.
census, and
Yeah.
you're bringing it back. So we kind of know who touches it, because the whole thing is like, is this just hitting the landlords? Then we need to think of something else that gets to the renters.
I get it.
So that's the big part of, and that we know they read it. We could make the piece of paper, like you say, keep it, cut it. It gives an extra.
I would,
we'll
I
make it so they can
would, I
do
would
it.
not make it too drastic. I would literally make an information, keep it as simple as possible. An information piece going out that this is where we stand and this is the timeline that we have to come up with a solution. And people will come out of the woodwork on their own. As soon as you mention a word that we're trying to find a way to pay for something, that could quite possibly come out of the taxes.
No, there are a
If
lot
you
of-
put notes and you put this and all this, we don't confuse somebody.
Yeah.
Just
At
keep
the
it
very
simple.
beginning, we need to eventually provide all of this information.
But we
don't have it.
Right at the beginning.
But for
Right.
now,
I-
just a
I got you,
simple,
Keep it,
Maureen, hold
keep
on.
it straight.
a simple mission at the top.
All right.
Yes.
You know, this is where we're at, this is where we're gonna be, help us by answering these 3 questions.
Yeah.
Or
Okay.
these,
So,
Sounds good.
one thing I think the questions need to include, which language do you prefer?
Oh.
Because given, in fact, a significant part of our population speaks Spanish.
Well, we'll have both.
Yeah.
We'll have it in both.
Yeah.
Maureen, go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say, yeah, don't beat yourselves up trying to do something. As long as you send a mailer, guaranteed it's gonna be on everything Southbridge
Oh, yeah, it'll be on all the
in
Facebook
like an
pages.
hour.
Right, all right.
So,
Keep it
Let them
simple.
do
We
the
can't
work
get
for
ourselves
you.
in trouble if we keep it simple.
All right.
But there are a lot, may I please?
Go ahead.
But there are a lot of people that are really into this right now, but they don't know how to get out.
Oh,
And
sure.
this thing right here, like, is it Mark?
Yep,
My name is Dan.
nice to meet you.
But like, there are a lot of people that are passionate about this. A lot of people are scared because they're concerned, but they don't know how to reach out. Do you call a council? Do you
So it's a good
call
idea to
hall?
send this out. Yeah.
Just to get them know that someone's working on it. Like Mark said, it's very simple. Once you spark something, I guarantee one after another will be coming up.
All right,
Yeah,
okay.
that's true.
And
Well,
that's
so I think there's two different discussion things here. Do we want to just make literally a note, a memo, just saying this is what's going on,
Like
this
a
is where it
flyer.
is, and this is our site. You can come here. We have a new site, or to have the 3 questions. Do we want the paper back, or do we want them just to keep the paper?
I think we need both.
I think that it's a simple statement with a date like about that big on the bottom that we need to come up with a solution by this date and we're in the process of,
Yeah, that's
and
important.
this is what we're looking at. You know, money has to come from somewhere. I mean, down on Mill Street it grows on trees, but you know, that's besides the point. So it doesn't anywhere else.
If
So
they have enough to pay the $2 million, then we have no problem. We can just say,
So maybe when
talk to the
we're,
principal.
maybe when we come up with a plan, we do a mailer then, this is what we're going to do, yes or no, something like that, so. I don't know. I think simple mailers is what I would go for too, at this point.
informative at
This
first
early
till we have a
into
plan.
it, yeah.
The one thing I do say with a survey, when something comes back, the resident feels that they participated in
I
it.
agree.
So there's that aspect is we want that, we're gonna give them mailers. So mailers will go out.
All right, why
You
don't you
will
do it
have-
that way then, and we'll take a look at it, and we'll decide.
So I
as
think
a
that
committee.
if you, I just don't want people to feel like we're pushing anything down. We got a year and a half.
All right.
So we want them to know that something's starting and that we're asking them for something.
I agree.
All right.
They need to participate, they need to know
They're-
that they're
and then and
participating.
it's the census, they're already participating. So
Right.
that's why. Is everybody okay with the 3 questions?
Yep, for now.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah.
I just think it should be second, maybe. First is make them aware.
Yeah.
Give
Well,
them,
that's the
give
big
them,
note, yeah.
give
That's the
them,
big
give
note.
them time. You send out something, make them aware of what is actually transpiring at this table and within the town, what our deadline is. And the next time we send something out, it's more informative. It's where we stand as a committee and where we think that the best way is. I mean, we have an extremely diverse committee, so,
Mhm.
we should be able to find a happy medium or a reasonable solution to the problem.
Can you do something ahead of schedule? I mean, this really, for the census, really won't come out until January. We're now in November.
Right.
So this meeting has been posted, this meeting is recorded. Can something go out on everything Southbridge and just say, by the way, a new committee is formed, the town has received a grant, we're gonna put a census, our goal is to put out a questionnaire in the census.
Yeah, we
So
can do
that could just be
Mhm.
as the recap of, hey,
Right.
we know this is coming. So it's the people that are watch that, a lot of people that don't have the computers won't have that access, but there's a big group that does.
Well, this will be on cable access
Cable
as well.
access.
so.
Yeah, but not everybody watches that.
Mr. Pulowski,
On this gentleman's point, but just in particular, there's a lot of anxiety over this in town. Some tenants are afraid they may have to pay, or that their rent's gonna go up.
Yeah.
I mean, people are thinking about it too much. There's also some misunderstanding on when the town does, like what we have now stops, when. I don't know myself. I've had people ask if it was right after Christmas.
Mhm.
I've had people ask if it's at the end of the springtime. I myself, I'm not sure. I know it's beyond that time.
March 2024.
Yeah.
So it's not March this coming year, it's
No.
March the following year.
2024.
Just, and I know you probably put it out at the meetings,
Yeah.
but just putting that out at the town
We-
council
This is
meetings
what we're going to do.
will
here.
probably save the Commonwealth thousands of dollars in anxiety medicine.
Thank you.
So maybe that could be right in the everything Southbridge also to include that.
Alright.
Yes. Yeah, just for clarification, by the way,
Go ahead.
I work for the newspaper.
What?
I work for the
Newspaper.
newspaper.
I still can't hear you.
I work for
The local
Newspaper.
He has a
Okay.
tendency to.
So,
I'm glad, that's what we need. We need more newspapers to get around. We need the word out.
we're gonna work, so that's something we'll work with, definitely. However, the circulation is terrible, so.
To have an online presence that goes right to the phone and gives you the top five headlines in the
we
I
have
don't
town.
even look at
Facebooks.
at the same
I
time.
know. No, but
Post in town.
But you only see the first 5 or 10 or something like that. It'd be kind of fun to have the top 5 of this week.
Can I
Up with
ask,
Go
with,
ahead.
with taking that avenue, the main approach that we have right now and the consensus being is that a direct mailing, start with that.
I think so.
Getting the verbiage and the message clear.
Yeah.
With, so, we can take care of that aspect, hopefully before the next meeting,
Mhm.
right? Draft something up,
I
is
think
that
so,
something good? Yourself, me, Anna, we can have that. And then, if we all agree, we can go forward with that. Because, correct me if I'm wrong, you had indicated that this should be, quite possibly, just one of several mailings?
I think we should do at least,
One every 6
another
months.
one once we've got, a plan. I wouldn't put any, like I said, I wouldn't throw anything out there that we're questioning
Right, oh, sure.
until we actually have some factual information to put out there.
I agree.
You don't wanna give somebody some fuel for something that's said
Exactly.
or something we're questioning
Right, I agree.
before we get out there. So put out, the next one that would go out would be actual facts as to what, like, now the process has started, what we're actually doing, where we're looking to come up with the money, and how we're looking to do it. And then at that point, maybe it is a census thing, or it's a mail back thing, where we get it back and we look through what we got and find out how many renters, how many single-family homes, how many landlords sent it back.
Right.
And then we see where the response came from and because that would be where the concern is. I understand renters. I also, part of me thinks the landlord should be on the hook. Because chasing after a renter, not everybody is a great renter. We were all renters. I was a renter. I've been, Village Drive, Thomas Street. I've been all over this town. Everybody was a renter. Chasing around a renter as the Board of Health and then chasing around the landlord should own. They're
Cart.
responsible.
It presently is set up by law that landlords are responsible
Yes.
for.
The carts.
Right.
The carts, storage, cleanliness areas, so that's another reason why, we wouldn't be talking to everybody in a five-family house. We wouldn't be talking to that tenant, we'd only be dealing with the landlord. But the landlord
Well-
would be paying 5 flat fees
Right.
for each unit.
And the landlord's gonna spread it out.
Oh, yeah.
Guaranteed, the landlord will spread it out to the tenant.
Oh, yeah.
But the person that lives with his wife in his house, that's 80 years old, They can't spread it out to anybody, they don't have no tenants.
80 and 88.
They can't spread it out, there's nowhere to spread it, the money goes pretty thin at that point.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, and they're on a
Next
fixed income.
at this point, let's talk about our next meeting. Does anybody have a problem meeting any earlier than 6 o'clock, or 6 o'clock pretty much the best time?
I'm open to anything, Mike.
I'm open to anything, I'm retired, so I can,
I'm pretty flexible, so.
I know you guys
Yeah,
work,
so-
but a Thursday, could you make it earlier? on a
I just
Thursday?
can't do before 4, cause,
Right.
So 4 would be okay?
That's what time our
yeah,
offices
I
get
could do
out.
4.
Okay. How about you, Irene? You could do
If I know the time, then I can move things around, so it's,
So I'm looking at, our next meeting, we wanna go into December, because.
this is Thanksgiving, yeah.
And
Yeah,
next week
makes
is Thanksgiving, so, maybe December, I wouldn't wanna say the 1st,
You wanna say the 8th?
8th? Everybody okay with the 8th?
Yeah.
Okay.
In the meantime, we'll work on, and that would be at 4 o'clock, is that okay?
4 o'clock.
Right here? And we'll work on a flyer? Is that something that you were gonna put together?
Well, we said we
You were
would,
gonna
yeah.
work together?
Yeah, we'll work
Yeah.
jointly,
I will email him
include
what I
Anna
currently
Smith
have.
from our
Anna
department,
Smith?
to get, again, this will be a draft, which we'll share with folks, something we talked about, direct, simple, the first mailing.
Simple with a big end date.
And
Here's what we
yeah,
got.
the end
March
date,
24th.
Right,
It
right,
has to be
right.
operational.
Yeah, we'll start there,
What's another
we'll draft
date
that
that we
up for the next meeting, get it ready for you
Maybe,
guys.
Hold on.
Mike, maybe you should draw a cartoon that'll attract people's attention.
Yeah, so it used to be a question.
Seriously.
Mr. Town Manager,
I apologize, I had a meeting upstairs today, it ran over, but just because, Mr. Wazoo mentioned Anna's name, I just thought I'd let you know that she and I have been working and meeting almost weekly on an RFP for the curbside, just to go out and get, a hauler. And I'm trying to work with some of the area towns to find out, we will have something probably done in the next couple of weeks, so we can put it out, or we could wait a little longer. We have time, because there's a timeline if we wanna do, the election next June. We have till about the end of April to come up and work with the council if we wanna put something on the ballot, for a ballot question. You can always have a special if we needed more time, so I just wanna let people be aware of that. There was one other thing that, I went to, Irene and I attended the contracting class that Mass DEP as well as KP Law put on. And there was a lot of good points, and we've been trying to incorporate those into what we're doing. And one of the things, we're trying to leave it so that pay-as-you-throw could be an option in there. But also, some of the contracts we've looked at allow the contractor to negotiate the rate. It's built in, when you hire them, they've built in the tipping fees. Or we could just get them to haul and then we negotiate. There is an area, like a consortium, I wanna call it the Central Mass Regional Recycling Committee. Can't find anybody who's on it, but they negotiated a deal, like a 25-year contract with Wheeler
Committee
Brady.
has not met.
Right. No, I can't find anybody who's on it, and there's an old
Because
contract.
everybody's been retired, so.
But apparently Wheeler Brader did renew that, like
Yes.
10 years ago or something. And according to anybody that I run into said you can get on it. You might be able to get on it. So I'm trying to find out if we could get involved in that. And with economies of scale, we might be able to get a better tipping rate. But we could do a bid alternate to find out whatever the hauler is, what it is to take away, what it is for their rate, and what it is if we negotiated separately. So we're trying to be creative.
all right, sounds good.
That's good.
All right, go ahead, Kevin.
Do you have some idea what ballpark you think the hauler contract would come in?
Well, before
It was on
Mr. Pelletier left, he and Anna Smith had produced something,
That's
I
he's
think
holding
upwards
it.
about $1.8 million.
1.8.
in
Yeah, it was in the $2 million range.
Yeah, yeah, it had a range.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
At 1.6 to 1.8.
but that was done before we've seen a lot of these escalations in costs and labor.
It mentioned as high as 2.6, depending on what the future looks like.
Yeah, but now,
Yeah.
you look at where inflation has been going with salaries and fuel
8%.
costs and other, we're fighting the escalation in a lot of our other contracts, so I would imagine if we go out, some of these numbers may be a little higher. I have no idea how to predict that, but
All right.
we'll see.
That in itself
Go
might be
ahead,
something that needs to
Mr.
go in the
Counselor.
letter too. through you to the manager, I was just thinking about how if we want to aim for a ballot question in this following June, how are we going to juggle that between the charter questions? We'll probably have a fire station question and this. Or do we have? No, actually, we don't need a fire station question.
No,
No.
fire
We'll
station.
still have
Well,
we'll
we
still
might
have a
have
ton
a
of charter
charter.
questions in this.
I think correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't know if it has to go on the ballot yet. It might, but if we do something that it's offsetting the cost, and we can get it down low enough so it doesn't go that over the debt exclusion.
Well,
limit.
if we can do,
So-
if we can, yeah.
If we can.
There's a whole lot of things in play. It depends upon how much we have in our levy capacity. You
Right.
could increase taxes without going for an override. So for trash, you want to build to get the money to do it. It's not a debt exclusion. It have to be a true Proposition 2.5 override, which would build it into your levy.
Correct,
Right.
I'm sorry,
Yeah.
I
Right.
take
I
that
guess
back.
you have to look at what our average excess levy capacity has been over time, because it has fluctuated probably anywhere from 400 to 800,000. And so you might have some, then you'd have to look at how much money you think you would generate and how you would do it, because we've talked about how much you want to get a kind of a Goldilocks number on your bags so that, you know, people aren't turned off by it.
Yeah.
Irene and I have talked about this. And then seed money to start the program too.
And then there's grant money, so if you go to a pay-as-you-throw program, and then there's grant money available. And that can come in as the seed money.
So depending upon all those factors, you know, if it looks like you can get it, you don't have to do an override. You could do an override for a portion of it, and then maybe you split half in the tax base and half on the bags, or if it looks like you can get it all on the pay-as-you-throw, you do all that. So there's a myriad of options and factors that would contribute to it. So,
Sure.
you know, we can go out and get the costs, and then we can see how the, you know, as we get all our numbers for DOR, what our levy capacity looks like, and then we can gauge whether or not, based on the economy, you think the thing would survive a ballot question, or, you know, whether we want to just pitch the whole pay-as-you-throw from the get-go
Right.
and sell that.
Do we
So-
know if there's anybody, and I mentioned this before you walked in a bit, do you know if there's anybody in the community, specifically industries, that could take advantage of some of the materials that we're disposing and use them as feedstock for something?
I have had an individual come in, he did talk to Ms. Dean and I, he approached me first.
Was this the guy that did that presentation about doing something at the airport?
That was the guy who did with the crushed glass.
Yeah,
Oh, the
No,
food
but
material?
I had
Yes.
somebody who would take food waste,
okay.
and they make pet food out of it, and he was looking to come up in maybe that same space up there. So,
All right,
so
thank you.
there are options.
Okay.
So-
I was also thinking of companies that already exist in town, what they might need for food stocks, or supplies for their underlying products, and I don't know if we could meet some of those needs with
The difficulty is we do swing the stream, and it's hard
It's
to
all
break it
mixed
up.
together.
No, I understand that.
So let's take it one step at a time here, and we'll come to that somewhere down the line, we'll be talking about that. So at this point, unless somebody has anything else that they wanna talk about, I'd take a motion to adjourn.
I had one thing I wanted to ask,
Go ahead.
and then I promise it'll be quick, and this might be a general question for the town manager, and the inspector. April, the thought of April looming scares me, because I know how fast April comes.
People do know.
Should we set, maybe at the next meeting, if you guys have some ideas on
We should put those in.
rudimentary benchmarks we should be looking to achieve, if we need to get something on the ballot, so that we're ready for April?
So I kind of was going through the list. When we did the technical assistance grant, we wrote down the entire
Okay,
draft schedule. So I can quickly go through that quick, because I really stopped at this one because I wanted us to talk about the questionnaire to get the word out, because people go crazy if they don't have a date.
No problem.
So, but the things we were talking about: October, apply for the grant, form a committee. November, meet the committee, talk about the RFP, talk about the survey. December, share the findings of what has found, go through the RFP in more detail, have the RFP looked at by council if that is at that time. The committee meets talking about the finances and to go over the needs and approve if a vote is needed. Council approve RFP, do continual education, especially to seniors. February is education to the landlords. March, draft vote if needed, and of course more continued public education. April is the May. Hopefully that the RFP is back. The committee needs to go over the details of what the RFP shows us. If it's, it could be put it further back out. Town meeting if needed in June.
One issue with that is if we put it on the ballot in June, the RFP needs to be back by like, what, mid-April?
Yeah,
Latest?
no, I would up that earlier.
Or even
We-
early April?
So,
'Cause of the
If it
legal
needs to be
requirements.
for town meeting vote, you're saying?
No, it's how would we go to the ballot? And
So I don't think you never put anything to the ballot, so I would really strongly
No?
advise not
We
to the
don't have
ballot.
town meeting. We're a town council form of government.
So then it would
We're
just
city.
happen, so. The town ballot is very, I've only had out of, I've helped 20 communities go to a pay-as-you-throw program, and I've had only, I think, 2 try to do it at the town meeting. I still was a little hard at.
Yeah, it is.
Because the people that come just are seniors is like, I don't want to vote for any change of money. Well, either you have this that's fair, you pay one, if you put out 6, you pay for 6,
Yeah.
or you're on your own, which a couple towns have done, and they're paying $600.
Could the ballot
One
literally have
person.
2 questions?
Well,
You know,
that-
2 options, and like either it's this one or this one.
I don't know. I don't know
And
how we
that's a
can
lot
work
of
that.
things, because a lot of things will change by then. So you get kind of stuck. If it is a town vote,
Right.
you're kind of stuck in that. So I've had a couple towns say, we voted against pay as you throw, so then therefore they have to wait a year or 2 to even discuss it. It's just like, well, that's the thing that makes the most sense.
Well, as I said in the
agree.
beginning,
Agreed. That's
the
the problem.
council voted to do a town-wide contract service
Mm-hmm.
pickup. We're just discussing how we're
Exactly.
gonna pay for it.
Exactly.
and the reason, if I may,
Go
Mr.
ahead.
Chair, to go to Steve's point, was that when they voted for that, last year they decided well, there was 2 things. We had talked about trying to go out for a ballot question earlier, and town council said you can only do it in the fiscal year that you're gonna use the money, so we couldn't do it, so we had to wait for it to kick in the next coming fiscal year. But the thought process was, at the time, they weren't gonna look at pay-as-you-throw, so it was just strictly gonna be either do it on your own or through an override. So they wanted to wait till this time frame for us to do an RFP. And then towards the middle of the summer, the question of, well, let's revisit pay-as-you-throw. So we were kind of late in the process because that was the thought process they wanted to go through. So that's how we wound up here.
All right,
Thank you.
you're all set?
Mhm.
Okay. If nothing else, I'll accept the motion to adjourn.
Hand giving.
All those in favor? This meeting is adjourned. Thank you very much.